On today's video, we're going to be talking about the differences between classic and modern zombies and kind of my opinion on what is better. Because I know that lately in the zombies community, we've kind of had like this argument between, if modern zombies is garbage because of the new mechanics like armor plating and, no perk limit and all that stuff. But I kind of have some differing opinions about this topic. So but anyway, so as you can see, I will be playing Kiera Toten while I'm doing this topic video. And I really do hope that, at the end of this video, you guys will, comment, like, and subscribe because I am trying to build this channel. I know that I kind of sound a little off, and it's mainly because I'm a little sick and I'm also, like, kind of very nervous with talking on YouTube. But anyways, besides that little disclaimer, let's get into the actual topic of the video. So, with the, coming up release of BO7, I believe Ashes of the Damned, people have kind of been, discussing the fact that, Treyarch hasn't really changed much from BO6 when it comes to the new gameplay changes. And in my opinion, I think that Modern Zombies is actually great in a lot of ways. There's some minor things that I wish we would have, like for example, we need to have the classic point system back. I think it makes no sense to why we have this like new system where it's like very linear. Like the fact that, you don't get points for getting hit markers or anything, I feel like is honestly really, really stupid and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But that's just kind of like my opinion on the matter. Now, we're going to kind of talk about Classic Zombies first and kind of what made it so special. And one of the main things that, made Classic Zombies super, super special was the fact that the maps were very unique and diverse. And the one thing that I'm really glad about BO7 is that they're finally are going to have like more diverse maps because now we're stuck in the Dark Ether. I think the entire season of BO7, and also the fact that I believe this would be the last Zombies game we have for a little while, means that I think Treyarch is probably going to go on all stops for this game, and I'm hoping it does, because if it does become a pretty good Zombies game, I might buy BO7 on sale, which I never thought I'd ever say. But that's only if, they actually put the effort in to make it a good game. Now, as someone who, grew up with the classic Zombies and has always praised it, there are things that, I don't like about it. Like, for example, like, in my opinion, I feel like classic Zombies is kind of repetitive. And I know you're probably going to be like, how's it repetitive? There's so many maps, and there's so many Easter eggs, and, like, stuff to do, and, buildables and stuff. But the sad truth of it is, and this is kind of the reason why I feel like a lot of people talk with, like, rose-tinted glasses when it comes to talking about, why Modern Zombies isn't as good as classic, is the sad truth that realistically COD Zombies has been the exact same thing since 2008. I mean, you open doors, you get Pack-a-Punch, you get your perks, you get set up for high rounds, or you do an Easter egg and maybe a couple Easter egg quests. And maybe some, stuff that you could pick up off the floor, like a shield part. But it's been the same simple, basic premise since, its inception until, BO3 and I guess the ending of BO2 kind of changed the formula of having, like, more complex maps and having, like, item pickups and stuff. But realistically, when I look at Modern Zombies, it's identical to BO1 and a bit of BO2 and World at War, and yet people loved BO1 and loved, I guess, I wouldn't say loved the beginning of Black Ops 2, because Transit was super controversial back in the day, but, like, people loved World at War, for example, and BO1, and it always makes me wonder, like, why people kind of have this hypocritical thought of, like, oh, well, Modern Zombies is boring and it's too easy. And I understand where people are coming from, because technically it probably is easier to some degree to play Modern Zombies, but most people that make that argument have played classic Zombies since they were like 10 years old, And as I stated earlier, zombies hasn't changed really at all in almost what, almost 20 years, like what, like 17 years ago? Like, zombies is old as shit. Like, no wonder you're gonna play the new zombie maps and probably get to around 30 or 40. You know, this isn't like Dark Souls where the zombies like dodge your attacks or it's like a QTE event. Like, yeah, no wonder it's going to be the exact same because realistically, the zombies have been acting the exact same forever, and that's just the flaw of, the Call of Duty Zombies engine. And it's just like for me, I understand where people are coming from with the fact that they feel like, COD Zombies doesn't have any soul, and that's another thing, and I can kind of understand that, but what really gives zombies like a soul? You know what I mean? Because for example, like people complain about how much Cold War was like regurgitating the same maps from like campaign and stuff, even though literally like Call of Duty used to do that back in the day. I really wouldn't say Black Ops 3 did that stuff. I would give them credit for BO3 and probably BO2 because it was, zombies mode for BO2 and 3 were very, very unique for the mode. But when it comes to things like, like World at War and BO1, a lot of the assets were literally ripped straight from other game modes, and it makes me kind of wonder, like, well, why did back then people accepted and cherished, a lot of people say BO1's the best zombies mode, yet, in my opinion, the modern zombies, is honestly way better than BO1 gameplay-wise, and way better than World at War gameplay wise, yet for some reason now people are kind of like switching to where they don't like the modern zombies, you know? And another thing that I kind of don't understand, with the community is just like why we act like zombies was like this super deep thing when it really never was. Like, there's another like problem where I guess like kind of like a dilemma that people have been talking about in the community with like high rounding being way too easy to get to. Like, oh, round 100 is like getting around 20 now. And I definitely understand where people are coming from because even with Cold War, I actually did get to like round 80 on, I think, D Machine. And honestly, it was actually really fun. That was the one thing that I liked about Modern Zombies was playing the game and getting high rounds is actually enjoyable. Like even in BO3, like this shit is definitely a lot better than BO2 high rounds and Black Ops 1 and of course World at War high rounds. But holy hell, is it super repetitive and super like drawn out. And I'm glad that Treyarch was able to make a new system, and I think BO4 kind of semi-solved it, but BO4 had problems with like the perk system and how the zombies worked. I would say like BO4 was like a beta for Cold War. I think Cold War perfected a lot of the BO4 systems, and then Black Ops 6, besides the fact that BO6 had horrible post-launch content, perfected Cold War, and then now BO7 is trying to perfect BO6. So I'm hoping BO7, can actually perfect the modern format, and I think they will because they honestly know that this is like their last zombies game for a while. And in my opinion, the gameplay loop of the older games isn't the greatest. Now that I'm older, like, I don't know if it's just me, maybe because I've been playing zombies since I was a kid and I was literally a zombies crack addict. But even playing BO3 zombies is boring as shit. Like, even when I play like Shadows or when I play Origins or it's like this it doesn't hit anymore because like zombies was never deep. It wasn't a game mode that was like, gonna have so much diverse gameplay mechanics, to where you could play one map for a million times and not get bored. And I think that's kind of the problem is people don't realize that zombies as a whole just realistically would get boring because the truth is that this is still part of Call of Duty. And in my opinion, the Call of Duty engine and the way that Call of Duty has been framed since probably COD 4 forces COD Zombies to be very boring. Like, honestly, games like Killing Floor, I feel like have a lot more diversity than COD Zombies in some aspects. And I think the good thing about modern zombies is that it just feels good to kill zombies. I mean, that's realistically what you want to do when you play zombies. You know, it's like, I don't mind doing fetch quest stuff on BO3, but holy shit, is it gotta be the most tedious shit to do every single game. And I think that's the reason why they gave up on that stuff after BO4. Because no one was playing COD Zombies because BO4 was garbage when it came to a lot of gameplay mechanics. And BO3 was just too complex. Now, of course, you can learn the complexity of classic zombies and have fun with it. But personally, man, once you do like the same puzzle or the same cipher to get a wonder weapon or a specialist weapon, it gets boring and repetitive really fucking quick to where I would rather just play Kino like how I'm doing now. And that's kind of the reason why I don't really honestly think we should have zombies like that anymore, because it's fun, but it's super gimmicky as hell, and it gets so boring, dude. It's like people don't realize that like zombies in itself became so famous because it was easy to pick up. Look at Black Ops 1 Kino der Toten, okay? It's ironic that once, you know, Shadows of Evil came out, and even Transit for that matter, people hated zombies because it wasn't accessible. You know, Call of Duty was never meant to have something this deep work, because realistically COD isn't that deep of a franchise. It's just an FPS generic shooter with some good multiplayer elements, a pretty good decent story depending on the COD game, and a side mode that's just zombies, you know? Like, it's not meant to be a game mode that's fucking, you play a map and there's like a million Easter eggs to look out. Like, that type of stuff is super gimmicky. And, you know, as for the story, I will say Modern Zombies story is fucking garbage. But to be honest, now that I'm older, I kind of realize like how much the Call of Duty Zombies story reminds me of another horrible storyline in gaming history, which in my opinion would be the Five Nights at Freddy's storyline. I absolutely despise what FNAF has become over the years, because they have the exact same problem of just not letting shit go for the sake of nostalgia. And to be fair, like, BO3 kind of had a basic ass story, you know, and they were trying to, you know, get rid of all the past versions of, you know, I think it's not the Victus, the Ultimus crew, right? And for some people, BO3 was not a good story, and I get it, because it's convoluted as shit. BO4 didn't help with the ending. So it's like the zombie storyline realistically wasn't that great, but it was good. And I really do hope that with, you know, BO7, I think they might actually do pretty good with the story. Because, like, you know, Vanguard had literally nothing. Modern Warfare Z, who the fuck cares? Cold War, I think, had probably the most unique-ish story because they were trying something new, but they once again kind of kept, you know, backtracking. BO6 was unfinished, and now we got BO7. But when it comes to the story of Modern Zombies, I think there's definitely room for improvement, but I don't really care that much about the story anymore of COD Zombies because, you know, realistically, man, like, zombies is fucking convoluted and doesn't make any fucking sense. Or, you know, has a lot of plot holes and a lot of just not that great storytelling, and I think that's okay, you know? Like, I don't need every game to have an insane story for me to keep playing, you know? Like, I get why people want a badass story because we have, you know, fucking World at War and Group 9 through 5 and, you know, Peter McCain and Black Ops 1. We had buku storylines like blowing up the Earth to stop, you know, Richtofen's, you know, full control of the ether. And then Black Ops 2, we had the, you know, the Victus crew and, you know, siding with Maxis or Samantha, then Mob of the Dead, and then Origins, and then, of course, BO3 and even BO4 for that matter. And I get it. But the sad thing is that not everything has to come to an end. And I feel like the fact that so many people are trying their hardest to make, you know, modern zombies into classic, I just don't think it's going to work because it wasn't designed that way. Just like how classic zombies, you know, at the time, I don't think really was designed that great, you know? It's great, sure, but it's not like the most ball-busting gaming experience I've ever played in my life, you know? There's tons of games that, in my opinion, flow way better than Call of Zombies. But for Call of Duty standards, it was incredible because, you know, it was such a fantastical story and the wonder weapons and the maps and the voice acting, you know? It had character to it. And when it comes to, you know, and speaking of character, when it comes to like the operator system, I don't mind it. I'm very happy though that we actually have a dedicated crew. That is the one thing that BO6 literally, thank God they had that system where now you can have a dedicated crew with some type of voice lines. And I think with BO7 they're going to double that because now we have the new, you know, I don't even know what to call them. I'm gonna call them like the Demas crew, I guess. I don't know. It's like Ultimus, but Dark Ether. I don't even know what they're gonna be called, but you know that crew on top of the Black Ops 6 crew with like Weaver and stuff, I think can go pretty well. And a matter of fact, this would be the first time we've had like 8-player zombie teams. I think since I guess technically Black Ops. No, actually Alpha and Omega. Never mind. Yeah, Alpha and Omega. So it is kind of unique, and I do think it's actually a really cool concept. I just hope the execution is way better than it was in BO6 and Cold War. You know, and also a lot of people say about how most zombie maps feel the same. And in my opinion, when it comes to that take, this take is probably gonna piss some people off, but most zombie maps, even back in the day, even on BO3, feel the exact same because once again, it's the Call of Duty engine. You know, the only difference between maps is like guns, wonder weapons, Easter egg, maybe some voice lines, and maybe some enemy types, and that's it. But the maps realistically all play the same. Like for example, like Kindred Toten and Der Riese are identical, yet people still play those maps. You know, or hell, why would I ever want to play Nocturne Toten if I have Der Riese? Because Nocturne Toten is far worse than Der Riese in every aspect. You see what I'm saying? Or like with BO3, for example, why would I ever play Origins? Because Der Eisendrache is literally far easier and far funner to play. You know? So there's tons of like, you know, little nitpicks that the zombies community always kind of regurgitates where it's like, oh, well, you know, Modern Zombies is too, every map feels the exact same. It's like, you could say that about the classic zombies too. Like, for example, Kino and Ascension share a lot of the same weapons and wonder weapons and shit. The only difference is the map layout and the monkeys stealing your perks, and that's literally it. And it may be because I'm playing on BO3, but I just feel like every map is the same. You know, and that's just because it's Call of Duty. Like, the engine itself doesn't really allow you to have insanely diversity type of stuff when it comes to, you know, Call of Duty Zombies. And for me, man, like, I've always just, like, as I've gotten older, I've started to kind of realize a lot of, like, really dumb, like, takes, you know, about Modern Zombies. And I definitely understand the criticisms, like armor plating. I don't think it's a horrible idea. I definitely don't want the shield system because I feel like it's just, once again, it just kind of brings back, like, that repetitive running around the map, grabbing parts, and then you could just keep getting new shield parts just for the sake of having your back not take any damage. I feel like that kind of, for one, wouldn't really work with, you know, I don't think it would actually work with Modern Zombies because like super sprinters and, you know, I feel like it would probably break way too easily. And of course they shouldn't have it to where it costs money to refill your armor because that was a horrible idea in BO4. So I don't think the shield system honestly would work in Modern Zombies. I think people just have to like deal with it. It's really not that bad, and they're even giving us like I think augments to help out with that. So it's just like I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, like why people want all the old shit back when literally even if there are added back, the only thing that I think should be 100% added back is 100% the point system. That is the one argument that, in my opinion, should have been fixed and addressed years ago. Is we need the classic point system back, especially if we're gonna get mule kicked. They should just make an update and announce, hey, we're bringing back, you know, 100 points for a kill, maybe 120 for a headshot, and then each hit marker gives you 10 points. If that was announced, I honestly would have no issues with the new system at all. I don't think, and honestly, if the point system was just reverted, I think Modern Zombies, especially if they have really good maps post-launch, could be as good as BO3. Like, I think it's really, really good, like, sandbox-wise and getting the high rounds. Because even playing BO3, man, like, it's fun, and I am having fun playing Kino with the Reagan Mark II right now. But it's like, I'm starting to realize as I get older that realistically, most of modern zombies and classic zombies had the exact same problems yet. I guess because nowadays people have nostalgia, tinted glasses and, nostalgia bait. They, for some reason, feel like because it's new, it's trash now, and that everything that's old is far superior, even though there's so many flaws with the gameplay, including with Black Ops 3's gameplay, even though this is pretty much the golden era for zombies. And that says a lot if even the golden era of zombies has flaws. And I just really hope that, Treyarch can really cook with BO7 because I'll probably play like the free trials. I'll definitely be doing that. Like every season they give us like a free trial for like a weekend or something. I'll definitely play zombies, and I might even do some videos on there. You know, if I was popular enough, I would do live streams on it, but I can't right now. So, but I'm trying to think of any other like type of discussion arguments. Oh, about like soul, in the maps, and I guess I kind of understand where people are coming with them being a lack of soul. But I also feel like the reason why there isn't a lot of stuff to do in the zombies maps and why there isn't enough soul is just because game development nowadays is far more complicated than it was back in the day. Like, there's a reason why Call of Duty was able to pump out yearly releases and have almost no hiccups back then. Nowadays they are forced to make a game every year. They have to have a very cluttered game dev base just to keep the game afloat. On top of the graphics and the details and the customization that we now have, that is far superior than the customization that we even have on BO3, it's gonna really crunch time the devs. And I think that's what's happening is the reason why Modern Zombies has very basic maps is because if they do anything like BO3, it would probably take up like 2 to 3 seasons worth of content. And it's really not their fault. It's just the sad fact that, in my opinion, I think we've reached a bottleneck when it comes to game development, and we need to chill the fuck out on game graphics, because I feel like at this point we're just fucking over our game devs as well as the development time and having like crunch time, because that's never healthy. I mean, look at Cold War. Cold War was crunched. I heard BO6 was crunched. It's just like, oh, look at Vanguard. Vanguard wasn't even finished when that Zombies came out. So it's like, I just feel like the reason why Modern Zombies is not the way that it was in BO3 and even BO4 is that, we have far more crunch time, and the graphics and the complexity of the game code has gotten way worse now that we're on PS5 and next-gen consoles and high graphics cards for PCs. It forces them to have to make maps that are, easy to develop so they can get it out there. And then the Easter eggs and the side Easter eggs are just generic stuff that other maps have because it's easy to code in. So I don't really think that, Modern Zombies doesn't have soul. It's just the sad fact that I think we kind of bit more than we can chew when it comes to game development and like Unreal Engine 5 and all these crazy game engines that look so hyper realistic it's hard to tell if it's real life or not. I think that is the main problem, is that we kind of stabbed ourselves in the foot with like really graphically beautiful games. Because like if you look at Black Ops 3, right, this game looks beautiful, but it doesn't look as good as BO6, which is probably why this game was able to be made as badass as it was, because the graphics wasn't that intense to where the devs can focus on small Easter eggs and small fun things to do. But nowadays, with how corrupt these damn companies are, now most people are forced to just crunch, crunch, crunch to meet a deadline, and then most of the maps feel like World at War maps or BO1 maps. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because personally I love BO1 maps. I think the simplicity is fun. If Simplicity zombie maps were not great, then Zombie Chronicles would have never sold on BO3. So saying that, because the maps aren't complex means it's bad is really fucking stupid, because hello, BO1 existed and World at War, and zombies was just fine for multiple years back in the day. But maybe it's because, you know, BO3 came out and now we like all are fucking BO3 withdrawal and we just want BO3 again. And in my opinion, I don't think that's a good idea because it kind of ruins the identity of BO3. And I think people just need to realize and move on or have like a different outlook on it. Because to be honest, man, zombies ain't gonna be the same that it used to be, and I think that's okay. I think it's perfectly fine for things to change, and I do know that a lot of people, including myself and most humans, don't like change, but I think, honestly, modern zombies is not that bad. I definitely do think that if Treyarch does great this year, like, for example, I love the new changes to, like, the new perk that we got, I think it's called Wispy, and, you know, I like how we got, you know, the fact that they're going to be nerfing down the bosses from BO6, thank God, because that's kind of how it is in BO3, and I think that's great. Because I do like boss enemies, I just don't like dealing with infinite bosses. I kind of just want to kill normal zombies and armored zombies and maybe some super sprinters. I do like how the Gobblegum system is now. I think it's way better than the one that we got in Black Ops 3. I like how there's a new system now where you can break the Gobblegum to get points. I think that's awesome because it means that worthless Gobblegums at least have a worth. Or there's a bit of a strategy where now you can like get a let's say a Perkaholic and oh shit, you know, I gotta do the Easter egg, or I'm gonna try to do the Easter egg with my friends, let me go break the Perkaholic instead of using it for perks, you know? Or maybe you can get a couple perks with the Perkaholic, but then break it and then use that to get like Pack-a-Punch tier 2 or something early. You know, like having a system like that with the Gobblegums where now you can break the Gobblegum is such a uniquely brilliant system because now it gives an extra layer of, you know, strategy. And it just kind of shows that modern zombies isn't that bad. You know, I think people are overreacting with modern zombies. I would definitely say like Vanguard was dog shit. Modern Warfare Zombies I feel like was a bit too gimmicky, but it was okay. Cold War was actually pretty fun. I just didn't like how, you know, they didn't have enough time to make Cold War better. Until like the very end of season 6, you know, I kind of feel like it just wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really like, I guess like it got boring after a while. But to be honest, you know, like Black Ops Cold War was like very, very, very like rushed in that regard, similar to BO6, but I think BO7 zombies and classic zombies have a lot more in common. There's definitely differences between the two, but I don't really think one's better than the other. Because, to be honest, like, classic zombies, at least for me, man, is boring as fuck. Like, I'm playing this shit and recording this video, and I'm just, my brain's completely turned off, you know? And I'm just, like, trying to just, you know, talk about this entire discussion video. And, I think that's really all the points I have now at this point, man. I'm just kind of, like, playing the game. I just kind of wanted to talk about that, because I know it's been a massive discussion with, you know, Ashes of the Dam, I think, coming out in, like, 2 to 3 weeks from now. But yeah, like, I don't really think that, you know, classic and modern zombies is really that bad, honestly. I think modern zombies has a lot to be liked, and a couple small things to be disliked. I would definitely say the point system is the biggest L, because it does fuck up progression really bad, and with how expensive things are, and the fact that I heard they nerfed the salvage system, which in my opinion is kind of retarded. You know, I really hope they're like, fuck it, let's just revert to the classic system, because realistically it wouldn't actually make the game harder, you know, or really easier. It would just make it more fair and fun, because like that's the one thing I hate about my like classic zombies is like the point system is too good for this mode, but there isn't much to spend on it. So as you can see, like I got buku points because like I literally just I make points too fast. So like it's actually kind of funny how like realistically, in my opinion, the modern point system would have made more sense for like the classic zombies, while the classic point system would make more sense for modern zombies. Like it's kind of funny how it kind of 180'd in that aspect, because after like round 20, dude, you have like 1,000,000 points and you're never gonna spend it. At that point, you could probably buy a house and buy like a goddamn acre of land and probably have like a new studio set up or something, you know, with that money. But besides that funny little, you know, I guess kind of coincidence there. I think that's really all I gotta say for this video. I'm really glad I was able to talk though, for this video because I've been kind of semi-sick with my throat and I was worried that I was gonna cough a lot and like gag and shit while making this video, but thankfully I didn't. But yeah, so that's really it for today's video. I should be posting this very, very soon, and I will more than likely talk to y'all later. But before I go, please, please like and subscribe, man, and turn on notifications when I do upload. I really want to try to build up this channel and have kind of a community with y'all. It's always been a dream of mine to become a YouTuber and become decently big. I'm not even asking for like 1 million subscribers, but even if it's just like 1,000 or something, I would be super appreciative. But yeah, so that's kind of my take on this entire topic for this video, and I'll see y'all later. And I hope y'all guys have a good day or a good night, depending on where you live. And peace out, man. And I'll talk to y'all soon enough.